Okay, are we ready, Nate? Okay, I'm going to call to order the Newberg School Board of Directors meeting to order for April 14, 2026. And we'll start with Director Wolfer with the flag salute. Okay, the board is going to recess to executive session per ORS 192.6602E. The Newberg School Board will hold executive session on April 14th, 2026 under ORS 192.6602E to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body regarding real property transactions, specifically to receive an update and information regarding an interested party related to a potential real property transaction of the old Dundee property, 140 Southwest Fifth Street, Dundee, Oregon, 97115. No final action will be taken during this executive session. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. We will hold our executive session in the superintendent's office for the duration. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session. Okay, that's it. So we'll be back shortly. So we're gonna call the meeting back to order. At this point, we're going to review the agenda. Do we have any additions and or deletions from the board? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. And you have your agenda up.
Well, we need the board packet.
Oh yeah, I meant the board packet because I want to just acknowledge the donations.
And here, I got it.
Okay.
One page ahead. So as part of the consent agenda, calling out the donations, the Awesome Family Foundation donated 10,000 to CVEMS and City of Newberg, Japan's Sister City Exchange Program. TNR Logistics out of Dundee donated 1,000 to NHS Girls Lacrosse Team. Newberg Early Bird Rotary Foundation donated 5,000 to NHS preparedness grants. We have then a couple of resignations that are also in effect. Outside of these donations, I also wanted just to call out too that I guess put this open comments, but Donut Land donated when they did the grad nights. They donated 100% of the donuts. They didn't do like the other donut place where you can buy it cheaply and then sell it. So it was 100% donation. Also, Les Schwab this year is 100% donated all water and popcorn versus again, instead of a prorated rate, they're donating everything for the booster in the concession stands. So
That's great.
I move that the Newberg Dundee Public Schools Board of Directors approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, now's the time for our public forum, and we don't have, Mr. Severide, if you're comfortable, come sitting up here, and that way we have you on the microphone and capture your comment. I don't think we have the timer, but
yeah.
3 minutes.
All right.
No pressure.
I'm Michael Severide. I moved to Newberg in 2011, but my wife's family has been living and farming here since 1960. All three of our daughters are enrolled in Newberg Public Schools. I start by saying one thing I like about this community is that it didn't come from a rail stop or a freeway exit. The Chehalem Valley has a distinct history and culture that I think we should be proud of. Ewing Young picked this valley because of its beauty and its fertile farmland. And the long-term legacy of Newberg is one of tolerance and inclusion through the Friends Church and of education through George Fox. So public education, I view it as it has been and still is the foundation of this community. It helps people from all walks of life become productive citizens, and it unites neighborhoods through friendship and activities. So, as you all know, of course, the state is shifting the burden of funding more onto localities like us. And the option levy that you're asking for to restore, furlough days and maintain healthy class sizes and return us to budgetary stability is a very important step. And, speaking to the community, I say we have a choice to make. Will we protect this institution for future generations and serve our neighbors that may be less well off than we are? The future of our schools in this community is increasingly up to us because of this shift in the funding. The levy is also an opportunity to invest in our community and reaffirm this long-term identity that I mentioned earlier, being an inclusive and friendly place to live. And that's what I see Newberg as. I think that with the success of the levy, I believe that people will see that we're interested in investing in our community, and it will raise enrollment and bring more families to the community. For the public record, I do want to say for people that don't have kids enrolled in public schools, home buyers absolutely consider the quality of schools when evaluating a community. And to homeowners, if you will more than make your money back on your property value by success of this levy. Or stated differently, we will more than pay the levy costs with a no vote, and we won't have anything to show for it. Neighboring communities are investing heavily in schools, and we need to stay competitive. So, as stewards of this community, I urge you to vote for the levy.
Thank you. Did you have enough time to complete your statement? Because I'm not sure that we have, if we have other folks, if there was, okay.
I think I've said
All
what I
right.
needed to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that wanted to come forward? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so next on the agenda is resolution number 2026-12 is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And last year, for the first time, we read a resolution by the board around protection of children and our values around that. And a disclaimer, Juliet's House is a big part of my world, and as part of the April, we have a competition within the schools, and this is a t-shirt competition that we have. And we have an Edwards student, Arlette, who designed this very cool t-shirt. And she and her family are not able to be here today because they're out in the very wet soccer fields. But when they have time, we all have t-shirts to wear, and we'll kind of recognize her and her very cool artwork. But we do have a proclamation that we are going to read, and we're going to read it sort of round robin. So I will start with my piece. This is resolution number 2026-12. A resolution of the Newberg School District Board of Directors recognizing April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Whereas child abuse and neglect are significant public health problems that have far-reaching impacts on the health, well-being, and academic success of children in our community. And
Whereas every child deserves to grow up in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment free from fear and harm. And
whereas the Newberg School District is committed to the safety and protection of all students and recognizes that education and awareness are vital tools in preventing child abuse. And
whereas Juliet's House and other local partners provide essential services, including intervention, family support, and prevention education to help break the cycle of abuse. And
whereas Child Abuse Prevention Month is an opportunity to highlight the importance of communities working together to support families and protect children.
Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Newberg School District that 1. Recognition. The month of April 2026 is officially recognized as Child Abuse Prevention Month within the Newberg School District. 2. Commitment to safety. The district reaffirms its commitment to maintaining a culture of safety, compassion, and accountability for all students. And 3. Collaboration. The district encourages staff, parents, and community members to partner with organizations like Juliet's House to create a united front against child abuse.
And awareness, the district supports efforts to provide resources and training for recognizing and addressing child abuse. Hang on, second page. Under community action, all community members are encouraged to learn more about prevention efforts at julietshouse.org. And this is adopted by the Board of Directors of the Newberg School District this 14th day of April 2026. Thank you very much. I feel like we need to clap. I don't know why. Jeremy did point out that we didn't really adopt it because we haven't approved it, and that'll be in the next section. So I guess we have to vote on it in the next section, but that's okay. Okay, so Dave, you want to take over teacher appreciation?
Yeah, I just want to take a moment and talk a little bit about teacher appreciation. Next week, April 20th through the 24th, is our district-wide staff appreciation week in Newberg, Dundee Public Schools. The National Teacher Appreciation Week comes later in the year. The National Classified Appreciation Week comes earlier in the year. So we've chosen this week that's kind of in between the two to celebrate our staff. Teachers, paraeducators, custodians, office staff, nutrition workers, coaches, and every person in between. This is our week to say, we see you, we're grateful, and I want to share a couple of the reasons why. Again, there's a lot for us to think about with our school district, and there's a lot of things that we can improve, but there's also a lot of things that we do well. Again, our grad rate this year is 92.6. That's up more than 9 percentage points since 2023. It doesn't happen by accident. That happens when teachers who followed up, counselors who stay late, and staff that refuse to let kids fall through the cracks. 88% of our ninth graders are on track to graduate. That's a 17% increase from 4 years ago. Again, that's ninth grade bar, that's the counselors and the staff following up. We've been recognized 3 times as Jostens Renaissance Platinum School of Distinction, 22, 24, 25. That's all about building a stronger, positive school culture that we spend a lot of time on. One of our own students, Luke Greller, a 12th grader, was named Jostens National Student of the Month in October. Our students are competing and winning at the highest levels. Boys wrestling team won the 2026 state championship, the 17th title. Our cheerleading program won 2026, their 13th title. Choir brought home 2026 Pacific Conference League championship. These victories are the result of coaches, directors, and students who are all working together. At the K-5 level, we have our early look at our winter assessment shows that we have about 60% of our kids who are already meeting or exceeding standards. Those are good stats for us. K-12 dual language program is graduating its first class this year. So I say these things because I want to be kind of direct. All of these great things come from staff and from staff members, teachers, secretaries, all of our folks working together. And we're in the middle of a difficult season for our district. We've been working through the reductions in force. We'll talk more about that later. I know this process has caused real stress and uncertainty for our staff. It's not lost on me that we're running this staff appreciation in a period of some stress and some challenge for us. But that stress and challenge isn't reflective of the value of our people. And that's why next week, I think it's really important that our principal's been working on this. We will be out, our district office will be out on Wednesday, I believe, to do is that correct? Yep. And again, I just think it's important that even in these challenges, we take a moment to celebrate the folks who are working with our students. And we have a great school system here, even with our challenges. So next week, I'd ask everybody to, if you see a staff member, stop in, say hi, say thanks. We have lots of great people, and it's challenging for some of our folks. So we're proud of what we've built, and we have good results. So I just I felt like it was important that we kind of talk about this with Staff Appreciation Week right in front of us. So thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, Nate, do you want to talk about the audit?
Yeah, so on our Zoom panel here, we have um, Nicole from Polly Rogers. That's there she is. I see her over there. She'll pop up over here.
Hi there. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, we just can't see you yet.
Oh, there she
There you are.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So Nicole's just going to go over the contents of the audit, highlight some things, and what she's going to highlight in the letter that you guys have there, and then should be some time for questions if you have some. Off to you, Nicole.
All right. As Nate said, I'm Nicole. I'm the lead auditor here with Polly Rogers, and lead over the fiscal year 2025 audit. I'll just start off by thanking Nate for all of his attention to this. I know the audit is a big undertaking, and I really appreciate all of his hard work on this. And then now I'll just quickly run through the highlights of the board letter. If I could turn your attention to page 2 of the board letter, that'll kind of run down the results of the audit. For some background, the audit has 3 major components to it. The first is a review of the compliance with accounting rules, in which we assess the district's financials and assess if they appear to be presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and auditing standards. We're happy to report that the district received a clean or unmodified opinion in relation to this. This year we did implement GASB Statement 101, which is a new pronouncement. GASB 101 expands the breadth of accrued compensated absences, which are reported on financial statements, in essence meaning that in addition to presenting a liability for vacation time, the district now also presents a liability for sick time for its staff. The impact of this is contained to the government-wide portion of the financial statements, meaning that this change appears on net position and the statement of activities, but does not impact the fund level financial statements. The second component is our review of our Oregon minimum standards. Because the district is a municipal entity, we examine compliance with Oregon law during the audit process. This includes review over items such as budget appropriations and purchasing laws during fiscal year 2025. We noted no issues in relation to Oregon minimum standards, with the exception of one instance of above budget over expenditure noted on page 50 of the financial report, which we talked about previously a little bit. And then the third major component of the audit is our review over federal grants. This year we performed our single audit over the child nutrition cluster. We're happy to report that we noted no instances of non-compliance and no question costs in relation to this program. In addition to the single audit, we do also perform a review over the integrated grants, such as the student investment account, and noted no findings or areas of non-compliance associated with those grants. And now if I could turn your attention to page 7 of the board letter, we'll quickly go over audit findings. The first item on there is related to fidelity insurance coverage. In reviewing fidelity or employee honesty in insurance coverage, we found that the district often carries cash and investment balances in excess of the insurance coverage amount. We recommend that the board examine this exposure risk and make a determination as to the amount of insurance coverage they feel prudent in regard to their oversight. Item number 2 on there, governing body monitoring. An integral part of internal controls is monitoring of financial activities by those charged with governance. This can be accomplished by asking specifically designed questions to senior staff, by reviewing financial statements and projections, and by comparing financial results to pre-established benchmarks. While the board participates in the budget adoption process and receives staff-prepared financial statements, these only partially fulfill the monitoring function. We recommend that the district articulate the monitoring practices and record in the minutes when those activities occur. Item 3 on there, segregation of duties. Because of the limited number of available personnel, it is not always possible to adequately segregate certain incompatible duties so that no one employee has access to both physical assets and the related accounting records to all phases of a transaction. Specifically, we noted that the director and the coordinator both have access to print checks, create new vendors, have the ability to deposit paychecks, and have keys to the office where paycheck blank check stock is stored. The director also has the ability to approve purchases, print checks containing electronic signatures, and create new employees. Consequently, the possibility exists that unintentional or intentional errors or irregularities could exist and not be promptly detected. We recommend that the board continually monitor these financial activities to mitigate the risk and consider obtaining additional fidelity insurance coverage to compensate for this risk. Item number 4 on there is service organization control report. The district has contracted with a third party for educational and clerical substitute services. The services provider does not have an SSA 18 or service provider report or internal control report covering their operations. Irregularities could exist in accounting processes and informational technology controls. The possibility exists that errors or irregularities could exist and not be detected. While nothing came to our attention during our testing, we recommend the governing body review the risks regarding this matter and consider getting additional insurance from the service provider that will reduce risks, including being named on their insurance policies. Item 5 is related to I-9s. During our testing of payroll, we noted several instances where an employee's federal Form I-9 was missing information. We recommend that the federal Form I-9s are completed and maintained for all employees and that a secondary review is done by someone independent of the preparer to ensure that all federal Form I-9s are sufficiently and accurately completed. Item 6 on there, during the course of the audit, received several versions of the capital asset register, updating the treatment of construction in progress. We recommend that the district regularly review the capital asset register to confirm that it stays current and accurate. And the final item on there, during our review of GASB 96 documentation, we noted that the district's schedule of subscription-based information technology arrangements, or SBITAs, did not initially agree to the prior year audit report. Additionally, we noted one instance where the net present value of a SBITA addition was calculated incorrectly. While the total of this misstatement was deemed immaterial, we recommend that the district regularly review their SBITA schedules to confirm that they are current and accurate. And those are all of our audit findings. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
I don't have questions for you, but I do have questions for Nathan. When are we going to dive into these best practices? And I'm not saying it's on do it today, but like when should we expect to talk about these more?
Yeah, we prepared responses to these for the auditors, and right, this is all for the previous school year.
Right.
And so I can tell you the responses to the ones that we've responded to now. Is that good? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So on the fidelity insurance coverage, we reached out to our insurer record, and we have the standard policy right now. And many of these things on here, what came up at the last, not this audit meeting, but last audit, are pretty standardized comments to school districts because they're the same problems that all school districts have. Anyways, but out of curiosity, I reached out, and for $1 million of additional $1 million, it's $3,300 a year, and then additional 2 million is another 6,250. Additional 3 million's 9,375, and additional 4 million is 12,500. So just what that additional coverage would cost year to year. We just thought we'd offer that information. Let's see. Segregation of duties is a common comment as well for districts. And in response to this, we removed some of my access that would allow me to run checks or direct deposit files in our system. And our check stock is blank, so there's no check numbers or routing account information that's pre-printed on those. So we removed that one. The SAS 18 note is really for informational purposes, but is largely out of our control because they're a private organization on that one. And then I pointed out on the governing body monitoring that during the year of audit, that there was a lot of extra attention to the finances through the Finance Advisory Committee, and I pointed them to those reports as well. On the payroll testing, we went through the files that we had with I-9s and have updated files that were missing or had incomplete I-9 information. And that's what we had responded to of this list thus far.
For the I-9s, what's our controls going forward so we don't have gaps?
So in the hiring process now, we're verifying that all paperwork is in place upon hire. So that's something that they turn in when they are first hired. So that's part of the checklist that we have on hiring.
Sometimes that's, I mean, do we have a system that captures that digitally, or is that just all
It's an IRS form,
right?
but I think we do get it signed through Adobe Adobe Sign.
Yeah.
Yep.
There'll be two checks there though, HR and then payroll. So there's two places that will get looked at.
You've addressed this sort of, but I wanted to ask, and maybe this is a good question for Nicole as well. Thank you, by the way, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, no problem.
How common so I want to just start by saying we got a clean report, right? These are just best practices. These are not things that are like dinging us or hurting our financial position. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
That is correct.
Okay. How common are some of these findings, particularly for districts our size?
Sure. I'll say items 1 and 2 on there, fidelity insurance and governing body monitoring. Those are very boilerplate. They're more cautionary in nature too. It is more to point to the fact that, you can't prepare for every eventuality. So in the case that the worst would happen, what either could have been done to catch it or what safeguards were in place to, protect you. But those aren't pointing to necessarily like something those aren't necessarily something pointing to something we saw wrong in essence. It's, more protection for you guys. And then the rest of them, segregation of duties is pretty common just based on the size of the business office. We see that pretty often. Service organization reports, those are very common for people who outsource payroll, or we see that very often for 403B compliance, do outsourcing, that type of thing. I-9 forms, this isn't a very big error either. It's maybe someone forgot to sign their name or add the date of hire. It's pretty minor information we typically see that is missing from those forms. They're usually, correct in almost their entirety, but just missing 1 or 2 items. The only, I'm not going to call them bigger, but things that are more financially important on there are the capital asset register and the GASB 96, particularly when we see changes in, business managers or just staff changes to handle these types of things. The translation of some of the more nebulous information can sometimes be kind of hard to decipher as it changes hands. It's typically something we see go away as, someone has been in their role for more than a year and is more apprised of these things, or has, been principally in charge of it for longer than a year. But just because those numbers are like more G-wide versus like fund level errors, they are they're not as solid in their estimate, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. They're kind of the more long-term perspective type things. They don't necessarily have an annual impact, but need to be tracked still for that purpose.
Thank you. That's really helpful. It helps me better understand sort of a complicated world of school
Right.
obedience. And I also just want to say, I think this is a big deal for our community. Part of our narrative recently has been some questionable management of finances. And I appreciate that we not only have a clean report, we've got some things that will continue to make us better. And that we've got a team of folks here in our district that are doing good work. So I appreciate the rebuilding of trust there. I appreciate what we're seeing here. So thank you, Nate. Thank you to the team, and thank you to Nicole.
Thank you guys.
Any questions for Nate? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole.
Okay, Holly, do you want to come on up and talk to us about attendance procedures? Please.
bring more chairs.
Well, with one microphone, I'm just gonna have them call. Come
Okay.
up. Yeah. Thank you, guys. We're in April, which is shocking, but it's true. And talking about attendance now is kind of an interesting timeline, but at the same time, we'll talk about where we're at with our data. And then I have two guests tonight to speak specifically at what's happening at the building level in regard to attendance in general. So many buttons. Most days, our attendance looks like this. 91% attendance rate across all of our buildings. Our general attendance rate overall around 93%. And on any given day, this was a Friday, and you can tell by that sharp decrease down, we tend to have more absences on a Friday, where 289 students were not attending of our 3,900 kids. Reasons for our absences vary. You'll see a huge number of our absences are credited to excused absences. Kids away on athletics, kids with family members doing something awesome or just excused. Out of school activities, 27. Prearranged absences, 7. Unexcused absences, 98. And that's the piece that we'd like to have more information on. Bereavement, sadly, for some of our families, in-school suspension, medical absence, etc. And you can see various reasons go in any given day to someone being gone. But for our students who are chronically absent, that's defined as missing more than 10% of your school days. This is what our moving average looks like. And this was taken last week. But you'll see that note of January 21, an uptick in our moving average increase by over 5%. And I'd like to remind everyone of the germ storm that attacked us and all of our staff and all of our students throughout the entire month of February, which was very real, not only for our district, but for our neighboring districts as well. But a little concerning is you see the continuation of that uptick, and germs are still very much present and with us. But we also went through spring break, and where we have spring break extending for some longer than the week that we have off, we can see that reflected in our moving averages. Historically, though, we've got good things to talk about where we had extreme highs of 2020, which is not up here. We were slowly gaining back traction of people not opting out of school and attending more regularly. By 2023-24, we were just above 28% of our average for the school year of chronic absenteeism, and it's slowly ticking up. This change, if we see negative numbers, that's an awesome thing. So I have Tim right here to talk about Dundee Elementary School. You'll see a -6. That means that they're reducing, the number of kids who are showing up to school chronically absent. Fantastic. Noteworthy at our high school, Newberg High, which is notorious with students being able to commandeer their own transportation to and from school, they're making waves of reducing their chronic absenteeism as well. And we definitely have some struggle in some other areas. Catalyst, by its own nature of student population, is going to wrestle with chronic absenteeism. And it's not like that's okay, so they have a pass, but it actually, the data makes sense to us. And there's still things that are happening at Catalyst to try to change that trajectory. And I can answer a couple questions on that. Overall, by grade, we see at the elementaries hovering between 19 to 25%, a definite 10% uptick in the middle school years, and then our higher grades where students have more mobility, more choice in getting to school. We see an increase in that as well, and I'm sure our students could tell us more. In general, what are we doing? Well, depending on the school system, some of our schools are meeting weekly on absentee data, some bi-weekly. It just depends on the programming they have at the building. Generally speaking, though, between our secretaries, our admin, and our counselors, someone has eyes on the attendance reports every week, looking for some patterns for kids starting to develop and ways and lists of families that we need to reach out to. The teams of admins, counselors, secretaries, our MTSS or bar meetings all use this information to try to tackle what to do for specific kids, for specific families. Sometimes Panorama plays a key role in that when we're looking at trends or we're looking at holistically our whole groups, or specifically for a kid, we're looking at the whole profile, including our SEL surveys, what is going on with this kiddo, and then getting them into a counselor's office to dive a little deeper into root cause of what's going on in their world. Even up to only 3 absences, phone calls are going home at every single one of our buildings. So we sent out a data collection tool, and all of our teams report that as a first line of defense is a phone call home. Not only by law do we have to notify, but there's another phone call of what's going on, what's happening, to try to understand. Emails go out as well, especially up to the point of 5 missed school days, the notification by email for most of our schools, counselor meetings, and then attendance contracts, depending on the severity and the increased number of absences, as well as academic support, because with missing school comes that need of backfilling what they've missed in the classroom. Counselors and admin typically lead attendance interventions, which can result in attendance contracts or intervention plans, academic plans for students. And I'd like for our guests to speak more to what's happening at their building level as they confront this. So Tim.
Can I ask a question before we get
Sure,
into
sure.
this? So if we go back to the bar graph.
Sure. This one?
Yep, that's good. So what I'm noticing in the top 3 schools,
Yeah.
they're very small population schools. So I
Mhm.
think like one kid missing is weighted differently than the high school of 800 plus whatever the number is, right?
Mhm.
So we have like you had like the 4-year line graph, which is still percentage. Do we actually have like total numbers though of it? Because to me that's still percentages, right? And so I'm just wondering,
Sorry, I went.
or like, sorry, go ahead.
I said I
That one,
looked- Yeah.
right? That's still looking at percentages, right?
Mhm.
So I'm trying to think is as our, maybe just for scenario reasons, if we have like say 100 kids out continuously, no matter what, but as our population goes down, that means our percentage is going to keep going up. But we're still holding at 100 kids on average per school year, right? So I don't know. I guess I'm kind of questioning those 2 graphs as highlighting, not overtly, but just like highlighting maybe the wrong things and making sure that we, are just representing the picture the right direction.
Absolutely. So I can get you this kind of information where you actually see the number of students and then that percentage that is from that number of students. I could do that by building, if that's helpful, so that you can see that.
Oh, it's just helpful. I'm just saying, I'm just, maybe next time when you present this is also to have true numbers too, just to kind of have it in a, show both sides of it.
Sure, sure.
Percentages are good, but sometimes again, as our population is decreasing, the same whole number could ultimately cause an increase in percentage because our numbers are dropping, right? So.
Right. And I think that it's important that you're seeing those are the cohort numbers by grade level. And that's the variance of the percentile between our grade levels. So you can see some very real numbers of 300 students at the 10th grade level. A third of them are chronically absent. So we're talking 90, right? Like if you want me to break that down by school, I absolutely can. I think that the bigger issue for us is to look at what's going on big picture. And so you can understand what each building is doing for their unique student population, because it is, you're very right. Not every school is going to have the same numbers, but we need to still have a district-wide approach for what we're doing. And that's what we're moving to next year. So yeah, I can definitely get you more accurate.
Yeah, I'm not trying to discount what the efforts are happening or have been or moving forward.
Mhm.
I'm a data guy, and so
Sure.
sometimes I'm thinking, well, that just the way it was presented maybe could be skewed.
For sure. Well, especially when you're looking at Catalyst, which has such a small student population.
And that's why what triggered
Yeah.
me is those top 3 schools, essentially in my mind, are the 3 smallest schools by population.
Well, Crater is about 260 students. So when you look at the number, like, yes, we can look I can break it down even more, but it's not that small compared to our other. It's right in the middle. So I think that yes, I'll get you more info, but
Thank you.
that will come. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Holly, I'm sorry, I had one quick question too. I hate to make you repeat this, but I just want to make sure I've got a clear definition in my mind of what chronically absent means.
More than 10%
Okay,
of school days. So missing 1 out of every 10 days.
okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Which in our family's mind is like, oh, that's good attendance, 1 every, right? And you're like, because within a 10-day learning cycle, you are missing an incredible amount of what's happening in the classroom. Yeah. And that's defined by the state, not by us.
Thanks, Holly. Tim Wright, Dundee Elementary Principal. This photo is one of several that I'll share, and I selected some photos that show our attendance work. This was one of our recent attendance events. We had a March Madness attendance challenge 3 years ago as we started diving into like core attendance intervention, like how we help everybody get excited about good attendance. I found this. I stole it from some school on the East Coast. They had done one. The idea is classes go head to head in attendance challenge. They're working to get a better attendance percentage for that week. If they win, they move on. There's reentries for classes that do well because we want kids to stay excited. Kids that win their weekly battle get Jolly Ranchers at the end. There's an attendance cup, which Mrs. Bachmeyer's holding. It's an attendance trophy. It lives in our building. Classes get really excited to have it. They'll have it until like our May-June attendance challenge. And then like the teacher that wins it will get to keep it the summer till October. We kind of 3 or 4 times a year we pass this trophy. So it's one of the things that we do. But why do we do it? It's kind of what I want to talk about first. As we look at attendance, we read all the research, not all the research, but tons of research about how we can help kids. We know that like that 90% mark, that's a national mark that everybody looks at because it's connected to learning. The kids who are here 90% of or more of school days learn more and have a much higher success rate as far as being a high school graduate. And that research is connected to elementary attendance as well as attendance later. So it's super important to us to build those habits early. So what does research say? Regular team meetings, like Holly talked about. No, I went the wrong way. But the research does say regular team meetings, but removing barriers, making it easy for kids to get to school. We have kids that have barriers. We can't solve them all. Our population at a lot of schools is changing. 4 years ago, I told you we had 3 kids that were designated as houseless students and were protected by our McKinney-Vento Act. We have in the teens now. A lot of those kids have barriers to attendance. We work hard to try to reduce those barriers, whether it's transportation, whether it's food, whatever it is. How can we partner with the family to help kids get to school and be part of our community? Positive supports, research shows that positive supports are way more effective than continual family like letters of your kid's absent, do better, right? We do want to encourage families to get to school, but penalizing families hasn't been connected to successful practice. So we focus on positively supporting kids. Tiered systems of support, we'll talk about that, different levels of support for different needs. Each kid needs something different. And then the biggest one is climate and culture. Climate and culture matters a ton. It's part of the work that Dave mentioned earlier we're doing with our REN team. We talk about attendance there. We talk about other things that connect to attendance. I got a text from a friend last week that didn't know we were doing this, that we've coached together, and it was, hey, this is important. Student athletes attend school better. And the research said that because they had positive connections with staff, peers, and the community, like they were more prone to attend school. And research doesn't just go towards athletics, but all of co-curriculars. We don't have as many co-curriculars, but we've thought about that as how do we engage kids in those things that mattered and make them want to come to school. I want to come to school because I'm part of, I want to come to school because we're doing, I want to come to school because there's orange chicken, whatever it is. They all matter. These are a couple of those things. This year we got to take all of our second graders swimming. I had the best second grade attendance on swimming days. I had a kid that has been struggling with attendance, and we've been working with family for 2 years. The days we went to swimming, the 5 days, he was there on time, excited to go, and it was awesome. He's one of our kids that has a lot of home barriers, but that connected with him. Learning like our STEM learning that we've had our STEAM TOSAs do. Kids are excited on those days. They don't miss those days. We need our kids to be driving the attendance for the parents that are struggling too. Because there's not very many parents whose kids say, I want to go to school, I need to be there, I can't wait to be there. They say, sorry, right? But if things at home are already hard and you're trying to fight a kid who doesn't want to be at school, that's an uphill battle in the sand. So we want to make the culture engaging for kids and make them want to be at school every day. So what have we done? We have a committee. On our committee, it's our attendance secretary or our building secretary, myself, and our counselor. We meet regularly, review data, and then we share out with our teacher team and talk about things that we're going to do to support attendance. Some of those are whole school attendance things, big incentives. We've done drawings of any kid who's here 90% for a period of time will get entered into a drawing for a gift card, and we'll raffle off gift cards. Here's all the kids who are here 90%. We'll recognize them all, and here's a couple kids from each grade that are going to win a gift card, and it's a lot of fun. Kids get excited about that. We have whole class prizes in January. If your class, we connect a lot of these to our character work. So in January it was self-control. Part of self-control is working to be here on a regular basis. If your class averages 90% attendance for the month of January, we'll buy you hot chocolate for recess. And that one recess, they got to enjoy a cup of hot chocolate. It was really fun. The attendance cap I talked about before, but those big school-wide attendance incentives, those are for everybody, to make everybody excited about showing up at school, to value it, and to make it part of our whole school culture. Unfortunately, like there's kids that aren't gonna be successful with just that. So we have some other levels of intervention. We have kind of what we call our tier 2 group, which is a group that's sitting between like 80 and 90. Like they're close, but they need a little boost. We'll identify those kids. We identified kids who were here last year that were in that group and started right away at the start of school. They had a personalized attendance incentive plan. They were basically like this for the first month. If you make it all but 2 days during the first month of school, we will work towards a prize. What kind of prize would you like that to be? Like within real, well, I want 5 minutes of an extra recess with a friend. I want to shoot baskets with Mr. Quinn. I'd like a Hershey's cookie and cream candy bar. Got a kid that's earned about 6 of those this year. I wish he'd earned 12, right? But he's on his way. So that's a huge piece. Another piece is regular communication. We send out weekly newsletters that have school events. In those, we strategically include once a month a message about attendance that reminds families about like what positive attendance does for kids and why it matters. And then again, like there's that supportive reminder too of, hey, your kid's missing school more than we like. How can we assist you? Is there something that's getting in our way? And at some point, we need to talk now. Like we need to talk. And you're not in trouble, but we want to fix this with you. Again, I talked a little about connections between our character traits. Those are fun. The biggest one for us is knowing that each kid values being a part of our community and that school is something they look forward to and are proud of, right? And that's our continual culture work that doesn't stop, but greatly impacts attendance. This is part of our Read Across America week. It was pajama day and cozy up with a good book. We started the day with our morning message like we always do. We had our flag salute, and then we exited into the hallway for 5 minutes of reading and being cozy. Everybody had a book, everybody read. Super fun. But all those small events, I think, build a school culture where kids want to be at school. They're excited to be there. They're greeted every day with a smile. They greet us with a smile, sometimes partner with a yawn, but they're happy to be there, and we're happy they're there. It's been paying off. Again, these are similar results to what Holly shared, but for our school, if I had a chance to share on January 15th, we were at 91%. We were so excited because a bunch of our tier 2 kids were doing awesome. The kids we had strategically invested in. Our school-wide attendance was great, and we hadn't been hit by any like illness. And then like the illness came. And then if I shared this in mid-February, we're about 76%. Like we nosedived. We actually shared with our staff at a staff meeting, let's celebrate. We're 91%. This is going great. We're halfway through the year, and then just cratered. So the hard part about like that data, and like Holly showed the graph where it was steadily increasing, well, some of those kids reached 12 absences. It's going to take them more school days with no absences to bring their rate back to 90%. Some of them are sitting at like that 14, 15 mark where it's like, if he misses one more, he's going to fall below. So it's really hard once you get those kids, those big periods of illness. And this year we had more illness-related absences than we have in a couple of years. It was just a bad cold and flu season. But we've kind of modified our goal to try to creep that 80 back up to 85 by the end of June. It's going to be tough, but based on like our absence numbers, we're working for it and continuing to support good attendance at school. So that's a really fast picture of our work. I know I talk really fast, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I do love the positive reinforcement ideas going on and getting kids excited to be there. I just out of curiosity, is there ever any times where that one, having a kid in class not be there and hurt the class getting to the next round? Does that ever create any resentment for kids? Does that ever?
Not a lot. We've had that concern with parents. It's a valid concern. There's so many opportunities like for like it's not a one and you missed it all, right? There's lots of opportunity that it is average. It's never we're down by one student. When it's a percentage, kids don't really know, like, if that, if you had a 92% attendance rate and this class had a 96, you don't know if that's 2 misses. Actually, a really cool experience. I'm a parent at school too. And I have a 5th grader, and he is way too competitive. He takes after me. And we're entering this March challenge, and his class is in the final. And he had a buddy that hadn't been there for 3 days. And he got home and he said, "Can you text his dad?" And I said, like, I thought it was about like their youth sports stuff. I was like, well, but what? He hasn't been to school for 3 days and we got the finals coming for attendance. I was like, well, he's been sick. I'm sure he'll be back soon. He was. They won the attendance cap. But yeah, there is some competitive element. I think that's fine, but we're intentional to teach kids through that piece, not just allow kids to go out into their own and let all of their competitive nature.
I love hearing that there is that balance there. So appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. I love all of the activities that you guys are doing. My daughter's at Edwards, and they are also doing the attendance cups, and it has been a very motivating experience for the kids and very positive. So it sounds like I think a lot of the elementaries are doing that, and I think it's a really awesome program. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, happy to share.
Next, I'd love to have Maddie Kozlov come up, counselor at MV, and what they're doing at the middle school level.
Thank you.
Perfect. I was told I had 3 minutes, and that was quite a bit longer than I was expecting. So you'll please excuse me if my presentation isn't as robust as Tim's is.
And Tim even talks fast.
Now that I'm feeling super self-conscious about my PowerPoint presentation.
You just do you, Maddie. You do you.
Thank you. I will. So I'm Maddie Kozlov-Kurtz. I am the one of the school counselors at Mountain View Middle School. I've actually been in the district this is my 10th year. So quite a bit of time. I've got to see what our middle schools looks like at both middle schools, both pre and post pandemic. So I have kind of an interesting point of view. So I really talked about our tiers because, middle school, we talk about that a lot. So like Tim, we do a lot to try to build the culture of our school. Some of this is happening in very structured ways, specifically through BAR and their iTimes programs. However, it also happens in the school-wide competitions we have. We had the big readathon that was coming up. The Student of the Month is really helpful. It gets kids involved. The other thing that our kids love is our mixers. So at the end of every trimester, we host basically 2 hours at the end of the day where kids get to rotate to different rooms and experience different things. If their attendance is not really taken into account, but what is their academics. So if they're failing, which is more likely if you're missing classes, then it's harder to participate in those really fun things. We are increasing our clubs that are offered. This year, we had a chess club. There's an after-school homework club to help build that connection with both teachers as well as that academic support as kids need as things get harder in middle school. But then we also have a D&D club that started this year. So there's lots of really fun stuff. Yeah, that's mine. Not selling that. Other incentives include we've had like monthly challenges as well. We do it for individual students because trying to do things for classes when you have 7 classes during the day rather than 1 is a little bit harder. So every student who gets above an 88% in February got us a snack at lunch. So we had like 800 chips sitting out in the hallway where kids could come through with their, I got this, and show us their ticket and they get a snack. Other things include if they've got great attendance, I think it's over 95% right now, they have a 2-minute early release. So part one of that was at the end of the day, and then they could earn a second one was for 3rd or 4th period, depending on when your lunch is. So you get out 2 minutes early to your locker to pick up stuff and head out to the buses, or 2 minutes early to lunch to get in the lunch line first. So those are pretty big for our students. Lots of running in the halls. We work on that, right? We do also have increased home communication. Our principal and assistant principal tend to write the weekly letter that goes home our attendance team spent time crafting the message in that, and that goes out every week to parents as well. We do have an attendance team, which includes myself, our other counselor, our admin, our attendance secretary, as well as we have invited Annie Berger, our district nurse, and Shyla Jasper, our McKinney-Vento liaison. So their perspectives have been really helpful. So, tier 1. Oh, come on. Are you going to do it? Okay. Nathan, what did I do to the thing?
This one.
I did it, but it wouldn't go. Oh, come on.
Not that one.
All right, here we go. Don't look. Okay, so we're at tier 2. Apologies. So tier 2 is, again, that same between that 80 and 90% of how can we shift the needle for these students. So these are not necessarily what we would consider our chronic absentees, even though they meet the technical definition there, because these are still kids who are doing most of the work. They're showing up. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we have our bar, which also doubles as our SST, MTSS, Community Connect. It's kind of all goes under the same umbrella. And we have teachers who champion. So that means they take on a student. So if we are noticing, hey, this student's academics are really suffering, but it comes down to, gosh, their attendance is at, 70, pushing up to 80%, those are really the students that we're focusing on in that meeting, as well as some other academic concerns. But for that, the teacher then starts having conversations with the student. So building that relationship, that positive attitude, greeting students when they come in. How are you? I'm so happy to see you back. Let me help you get caught up. It might also be things like positive attendance calls home, right? So having that, hey, so-and-so is here just in time. We've got a week before the test. I'm going to make sure that they get caught up, help them tonight when they come home. All of those things. We took on a kind of missing you postcard challenge for our attendance team, and we wrote something like 100 postcards for students to be sent out over winter break. So all of our students who were in, again, that moving the needle mark, that 80 to 90%, got a postcard with, hey, we really miss you. We hope to see you. Have a great break. We're so excited to see you back. Again, building those positive connections and really helping students do that. We also have some supportive small groups. So this might mean tackling things like anxiety. We have my counterpart, Alyssa, runs the anxiety groups. I run our social skills groups. We also have like groups. So we have a BIPOC that meets during lunch. We also have a GSA that meets during lunch. And we also are starting adding things in like collage your feelings, which will be tomorrow, actually in the counseling office. So we're working on building those fun activities for students to come in so they want to come to school, right? Okay. So now we have our tier 3. So these are our students who really struggle the most. And these are really come down to our individual students. And I do want to call out that the needs of these students varies differently than our elementary school counterparts that Tim was talking about. Often these students, yes, they are struggling with getting to school. Some of it's motivation, some of it is permissive parenting and struggling at home, but a lot of it also comes down to mental health. We have a significant number of students with mental health concerns. We have 2 Lutheran counterparts and a skill builder and another one from, actually 2 Providence counterparts, 1 Lutheran counterpart and 1 skill builder in our building. It is a significant amount of support. It's still not enough. I could fill at least another 2 or 3 people with kids who need support. Especially we are lacking a significant amount of Spanish-speaking support. And as Mountain View is our Spanish-speaking dual language school, there is a lot of fear in the community right now, which definitely affects attendance. We also have kids who are really struggling with this idea of what school is. And the habits that they build, of course, don't really change without a significant amount of intervention. So if they've struggled with their attendance in elementary school, it gets worse now in middle school, is what we find. So sometimes there's other things going on. We do have a significant amount, we do have kids who are out for bereavement. That's definitely one thing that we've had to deal with a lot this last month. We've also have a few kids who are very sick, we are working on supporting. And so it becomes, how do we support, but also your health and your mental health really need to come first. So just a little bit of a different view of what it looks like in middle school when you're missing. The other thing that we also have to take into account is that there are often students who are staying home to help out. This might look like babysitting their younger siblings who can't go to school, or if mom has to go to work in a sibling's home because they're sick. It might mean staying home to help mom clean houses that day, right? So there's a variety of needs that we really need to take into account for our students. So what do? We spend a lot of time connecting with students. I don't learn all of this information through just casual phone calls. It usually takes a significant amount of time to learn, okay, you are not coming to school, and it's the third, fourth, fifth meeting that we're finally getting to the root of what's going on. So it might be things like weekly check-ins with a counselor. It might be check-ins with your preferred teacher, someone who you've already built that relationship with. We have fantastic EAs in our building who have very strong relationships with our kids, as well as their case managers. We do meetings with admin and family and counselors. So if we are noticing kids are really struggling and it's been going on for a while, we might ask them to come in. How do we problem solve with you? Right? Again, as Tim was saying, it's not a disciplinary meeting. It's how do we collaborate together? Because our worry is that the habits that we set now continue into high school, right? And we can talk about grades and how much we care about them in middle school, and they're still not going to affect your high school transcript or the colleges you get into. So for a lot of kids, there's this feeling of middle school doesn't matter. And what I have to tell them all the time is your grades may not matter. Like academically, of course, I want you to succeed. Of course, I want you to be strong. But realistically, what you're doing is you're building up that foundation, right? You're building those skills to be successful. And that's really what we're trying to train you to do. Sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't. Right? We do have individual incentives. So again, sometimes that might be things like attendance contracts or working towards this. I have bought many a child Taco Bell for lunch. That's the preferred. So we do that. Or sometimes it's even time out of class or spending one day a week for a period in the counseling office doing something with a friend. We always work on whatever we can. And again, really solidly building that relationship, whether that's with us in the school or their friends. So how do we get these kids connected? Just trying to think of other things that we've done that have been different this year is we've been doing a lot of like community family nights. So like dinner and games coming in. We've had movie nights throughout the district, which are always really fun. School dances are really well attended this year. So there is a lot of draw, but it's hard because right now attendance doesn't really factor into that. There's nothing holding them to this. And that's the hard bit for that we have seen over and over again is that a lot of times kids just don't want to. And because they're older, parents have a really hard time, right? We can help try to convince you, but in general, I'm not going to pick up a 14-year-old and fold them and put them in my car. I don't have that strength. So it becomes a different sort of conversation with students. But yeah, so that's all I got. Okay.
Any questions for Maddie? That was a lot.
Oh, good.
And it's just, I feel a little overwhelmed in that the amount of social challenges that both fit, from the elementary school, but sort of really are manifesting at the middle school in a very different way. And then some of what I know from the high school, and I volunteer at the resource room, which is a real respite spot for a lot of kids to come in. And so thank you very much for everything that you guys are doing to really help get and everybody who's part of this trying to solve this problem, because it's not just the statistical chart that is important to us. It's really the lifelong I don't even know what word I want to say, that trajectory of that child to be able to be successful in school, and just how much kids really are impacted by on a daily basis. So
yeah, it's been we've been doing some lessons around college and career readiness too. And so one of the things that our students are often like, why are we doing this? What's the point? What are we using? Like, this is stupid. Fine. But one of the things that we often tell them is that the most important thing you can do is get your high school diploma, right? Whatever career you're going into, whatever path you want to take, your high school diploma is going to open the most doors for you. And I want you to start thinking about that, because the path it's already going. So that's really the message that we're trying to get them to absorb they have control, and they have choice. And the more choices you make now that are positive, the more opportunities you're going to have in the future.
One thing that, I think it was about this time, I don't remember when you guys came and talked about counseling and.
I think it was
counseling.
April. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was about this time last year.
Mhm.
And we didn't really talk about, bullying as being something that's preventing kids from wanting to be in school, but it clearly it must.
Yeah, there are those moments.
And so, that's a real concern as well, for not just attendance in school, but sort of how they navigate the world.
Yeah, what we have found is that there are of course instances of bullying as much as we'd like to prevent it. A lot of it comes down to sometimes it's interesting the way kids talk to each other of what gets called bullying. So very direct conversation can feel mean. I've had that experience for the last couple of years. So things like, I need you to put that away now. You're like, why are you being so mean to me? So some of it does come from a directness, especially with staff of so-and-so's bullying me or so-and-so's, they are always watching me. Well, let's have that conversation. So a lot of that is also working on those perspective taking skills as well as that accountability piece. And that can be challenging for both of our students and their families.
First of all, happy board presentation anniversary. Sounds like.
Thank you. Lovingly being here.
Second of all, and for Tim as well, I want to reflect back a couple of things that I think I would want to know if I were in the community and I might be listening to this meeting. Relationships are 100% what is driving our work. And I'm hearing that very, very much in the stories that both of you are sharing from Dundee and from Mountain View. I think that is 100% the way that we get students to have a caring adult who's not going to let you go, right? I mean, what more could you ask for? And the incentives and those things are great. But the fact that we have caring adults in this district who care enough to not just work with the child, but with the child's family and sometimes with third-party folks that are supporting in different ways is incredible. So huge kudos to the work of these two schools and to many others in our district. The last thing I want to say about this is, as a board member, as someone who's sort of taking on some of the responsibility for ensuring that we've got systems in place for things like this, what a clear picture of how we are systemically trying to get our students to school, right? The tiered intervention model, the meetings that are happening, the phone calls home, things like pulling kids to school with things like our STEM TOSAs, right? Just kids want to be at school because the learning is lighting them up. Like, I'm super proud right now. So thanks.
Thanks for saying that, Andy. I just wanted to put up, when I sent out the tool to gather information, not every principal obviously could be here this evening, but here's two comments that I thought were really interesting. And relationships are the center of everything that we're doing regarding getting kids and keeping kids at school. And really the aim is to equip them to be able to navigate life, to be able to find success in the classroom. But you can't do that unless you're really establishing relationships. And you can see that that's what we can control. What we can't control, we do acknowledge people's lives are in turmoil all the time, any given day. But how do we gracefully walk alongside and keep using those relationships and the strategies that we know that work at our different buildings to get kids to want to come back to school regardless of what's going on at home. So yeah, really important to point that out. I just want to leave you with this. This was one of the last pieces of the data tool, and it basically was principal self-rating. Where are our systems? So we have a very worthwhile goal of getting to the green, which is reporting our buildings' attendance systems as strong. So we clearly, I agree, have established systems in most of our buildings, and some are very, very, I think, almost a little too critical of themselves, saying that they're just developing, because you'll hear very similar stories at all of our buildings. But the goal next year is to move into a very strong position, district-wide, including some of the best strategies that we see happening at some of our buildings. So that's the goal for the next coming years. And that's it. Any more questions?
Thank you very much. And thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah.
Both of you have busy days. So thank you very much. Okay, Tammy. Come up and talk to us about the RIF process.
All right. Thank you. I wish I was here for better reasons. It feels a little bit like a juxtaposition from some of the great things we've already heard tonight and the work that we have done. But as you learned last week during the budget committee, we are facing a projected $5.7 million shortfall for the 26-27 school year. We have already started implementing some cost-saving practices, including non-personnel reductions, operational costs. But the budget deficit is such that we will need to move forward with a reduction in staffing across the district in order to have an ending fund balance to ensure that we are fiscally responsible moving into the next year. So I am here tonight to ask you to authorize the initiation of a formal reduction in force process consistent with Oregon law, collective bargaining agreements, and district policy. I will say this does not land on anybody lightly. As Dave talked about, staff appreciation next week, and we have some of the most amazing humans in the world in our buildings who will be impacted.
I just wanted to clarify for any of the public listening that this reduction in force is for next year, and that the faculty members and staff that this will be affecting are finishing out the school year. No, there are other districts in Oregon that are cutting staff currently and having to cut those staff members before the end of the year. We are lucky to not be in that position. And I'm very, very grateful to these staff members who will be finishing out this school year in this situation that is really difficult to be in.
Yes, agreed.
And I just want to clarify also for the public listening, Dave, this is the amount of people that are reduced can dramatically change depending on how the levy vote goes next month.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Again, specifically, I think in the plan that we presented at the budget committee, there was 17.3 staff coming out of K-12 staffing. Those, in the advent of additional revenue through the levy, those would all be back into play. There's some other pieces in there, but of the 5.7 that we're planning on cutting, some of our plans make sense, and those changes will still happen. But the vast majority of staff that we're cutting would come back under the levy.
And then those that are getting the RIF notices, if that passes next month, when would they be getting notification that that reduction in force notice is being rescinded? How soon would they be getting notice that they actually get to stay?
Yeah, so I am currently working on that contingency plan. My goal, just as we have tried to be respectful of folks and let them know early about the potential of a reduction in force. I'm also going to be working on a contingency staffing plan so that in the event that the levy passes, we can notify folks swiftly.
Thank you.
I suspect nobody actually wants to do this motion. I'm going to take one for this team. Are we ready? I move that the Newberg Dundee Public Schools Board of Directors authorize Superintendent Dave Parker to initiate a reduction in force RIF for the 2026-2027 school year.
Second.
Any further questions? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And I appreciate everybody's diligence and hard work and sensitivity. And it's just a sad state of affairs, but we can fix it. We can fix it. Okay. Neat. Back to budget committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have two budget committee members whose terms expired in December, and they have both agreed to come back and continue on the budget committee, which is great. So this this is just oh, there it is, second page. Just to approve their extended terms for another 3 years. So it is Judy Croft from Zone 2 and Claire Hertz from Zone 4.
I move that the Newberg School District Board of Directors approve the Citizen Budget Committee membership as presented.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're back to the resolution and we need to actually vote on doing the resolution, but I don't think we have a,
Agenda item. Think you need to add that.
we need to, well,
Well,
it's
we
down
have
here on the
agenda
item, but we just need the motion. We just need to,
I'll just make it up
Okay.
on the last one.
you just make it up.
So move that the Newberg School District Board of Directors approve the resolution number 2026-12 titled Child Abuse Prevention Month as presented earlier in the meeting.
Second.
All, any questions or further questions? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so now we're at the board and superintendent comments. Dave, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke earlier tonight, just, it's funny because I was asked some questions earlier about our performance, across the state. And we started, Holly and I started dipping into performance issues. And, again, we have an excellent district and we have had an excellent district for the last 10 years. All of our data is pointing that way. It's not that we're happy where we're at. We still have, like every Oregon school district, we still have lots of performance improvements to make. But as we begin to look at what the reductions in force could mean to our district, I just need to just highlight the fact that this is a very good district. It's good for the town. It's good for our community. And as we start moving forward, I just need to keep echoing that statement because I just do not want to see the changes that we're talking about. I don't think are going to be good for our school district. And so that's the piece that I just want to make sure that I'm providing the kind of information that we need so that people can understand this. And that's where I'm going to end tonight.
Thanks, Dave. Two things. One, I just really glad that we did the resolution to recognize this as Child Abuse Prevention Month. That's near and dear to, I know, several of us. It's near and dear to me. And with that, I know we specifically talked about Juliet's house. Just want to give a shout out to the staff that works there. Having sat through at other child advocacy centers, sat through these forensic interviews, those folks that work there, they sit and listen to thousands and thousands of the worst possible stories that you can imagine, and they are there every day for those children. So the importance of their work cannot be overstated. So I just want to reiterate that and the thank you for those folks that do that work. Second, I really appreciated the public comment tonight. I think he said it a lot better than a lot of us have tried to. I've seen a lot of posturing over the years and even recently. I try not to go on social media much anymore, but just some of the comments there about, whether it's this political side or that, or the old board or this board or anything. Um, it really isn't that. We dealt with those issues a couple years ago. That was clearly a mismanagement issue. That's not here. And he said it best. This is really, the state has shifted the burden onto localities. Most of our neighbors have a levy to invest in it. This is really investing in our future, in our children's future, and for those who don't have children in our schools, it's investing in our community. Strong schools make strong communities, and and some of the speculation out there I've seen is just about, the declining enrollment is again due to the politics and people leaving. Again, it's not. It's birth rates. If you look at our declining enrollment, it matches the national birth rates, and that will even out someday. But this is not a unique problem to us, and we're wanting to just join our neighbors and invest, in the same strategy of investing in our community. So. As I'll say at every meeting I get the chance to, and anytime you talk to me, I just urge anyone listening to vote yes on the levy and invest in our children. Thank you.
I will echo that I'm really glad that we could recognize this month as Child Abuse Awareness. Thank you to Juliet's House for being a place in our community that really focuses on this. And thank you to Arlette for these awesome design on this t-shirt. One fun thing, I was able to attend the stream night at Joanne Austin Elementary last month, right before spring break. And it was just really great to see the community come out and see kids excited about all the different aspects of programs that we're implementing, seeing them get excited about technology. 3D printers are out, math, just seeing the joy in kids' eyes and wanting to come to school after school to do these things is always a really great experience. And then, yes, on the levy, I worry at some point that we're yelling to an abyss, that this doesn't always reach people that I would hope that it would at our school board meetings. But talking about attendance, talking about the investment in our communities, it's going to get a lot harder without funding to have those connections with students from people at our schools when we're losing potentially so many employees is devastating. And I don't expect that attendance will get better by being frustrated about the state of funding for education. And yeah, I would echo that our public comment made a really good point that this is an investment that will be paid back in your home value. It will be paid back in the people that come into our communities to be adults later on. I really hope that we can get away from the idea of the small burden individually compared to the greater good that will come out of this as we try to shoulder the burden of a world right now that is hard pressed to find a lot of good in how we're doing things communally. So I hope that we can come together and vote yes on this levy for everyone's benefit.
Well, mine's gonna be kind of short and sweet. I echo everything that's already been said. But just truly from the bottom of my heart, and a spouse of a teacher, I will help celebrate as much as I can about staff appreciation coming up. Every single person has a part in the way our kids education, how they become, adults and into into the I have draw a blank on the word I'm trying to look for, but becoming important citizens of our community and state and nation. So again, I look forward to help celebrating that as much as I can. So.
Well, there has been a lot of exciting stuff going on in the district. You guys are doing great stuff at the high school level. I also wanted to do a shout out for the equestrian team. They're going to state and all of their seniors made it to state. So that's very exciting. if you haven't been seeing social media, Jay's Restaurant has been doing a fundraising night for our different programs within the schools, and I just appreciate that I think they're celebrating a milestone in their business, and they wanted to do something positive for the community, and that's great that they have done that. Shout out for Mark Brown, who is no longer interim. That's very exciting, and a testament to all, great things that are happening here in Newberg. And there are a lot of people who are working on trying to pass the levy, and my appreciation to all of them. And of course, Mr. Severide's comments were really, it was a really great statement. And I agree with you, Director Wolfrell. He spoke in a way that was different than sort of what we've been speaking, really about the impact of the community. So please vote yes on the levy. And I just really appreciate the conversation about attendance, and that can just really sound sort of not that exciting when you think about it, but it's really what's going on in the community and why we need strong schools to be able to help kids and families.
A lot of echoing of sentiments tonight, but that's what you get when you have a bunch of people who really, really care about all these topics and all these important things going on. Before I speak on the levy, just briefly, I had an opportunity to attend a monthly assembly at Mountain View and then volunteer as a chaperone at their dance. There's maybe no greater joy in life than chaperoning a middle school dance. It is like a sociological experiment. It is a you can really observe the human nature. But it was very, very well attended. I get to help check kids in. And we had over 200 kids show up for the dance, which was just great. They were all so joyful. So many staff members were there, so many parents volunteering, and just a perfect example of building community in your building and making the kids want to be there. And it was just a very enjoyable time. So shout out to Mountain View for putting that on. And then, of course, staff appreciation next week. My goodness, they deserve all the appreciation in the world. And I want to thank also the different parent groups that are stepping up to help support them and celebrate the staff next week. I know that they are getting organized and doing all sorts of things. Like Director Hayden said, there's not a single person in the building that isn't an integral part of the child's experience. It is a true team effort, and I just appreciate everybody who shows up every day for our kids. And I want all of those people to be able to show up every day in the right ratios, in the right capacity. And to do that, we need to pass this levy. I am really, really concerned with some of the narratives happening out there in the community. And, as a lifelong learner and an educator, there's nothing I love more than getting information out there and helping people learn. So I just urge the community members to continue to seek out information, to continue to have conversations. Please talk to your neighbors. Please talk to your neighbors who are not parents in the district. There are still a lot of people who do not know that we have a levy coming up on this ballot. And we need to get the information out there as best we can. There are some places you can gather information. There is the district website regarding the levy. That is newbergschoolslevy.org. That one is linked all over the place. It's on the district website. It's in a lot of school communication, so please seek that out. If you are interested in volunteering, in canvassing, in helping us reach more people, and helping us get the word out to more people in our community, we have another website stood up that is NewbergDundeeSchoolsLevy.com. There's only so many versions of this that we can put together. But you'll also start seeing it hopefully on the social medias this week and shared with your community members. We are going to start canvassing. We are going to be knocking on doors. We are going to be talking to as many people as possible. If you cannot find either of those websites, please just email me, find me. I will get you sent in the right direction. I would love your support in this levy. I would love you to vote yes on this levy. Please join us in making this choice that has become the standard of care in Oregon for communities to step up and say, yes, I will support your district. I will be voting yes, and I hope that you will do the same.
Yeah, one privilege that I have in getting to share after my board colleagues is that there's a lot of themes that are emerging, and so I want to hit on a couple of those real quick. I am also grateful that we could adopt a resolution around Child Abuse Prevention Month, and I just want to invite my fellow board members to wear your shirt designed by Arlette to our next board meeting on April 28th. I believe we will be at the high school. No, Mountain View? Mountain View for that meeting. It's even kind of the Mountain View blue, right? So I hope we can show up decked out in blue. I also want to say, echo the staff appreciation. I love that we combined staff appreciation into 1 week. Not that it's not worth acknowledging specifically the work of our teachers or our classified staff, but rather we are a whole organization supporting whole students, right? Whole human beings. And I really appreciate that we have a dedicated time when we can do that, and echo my thanks to each and every person in this district. I want to talk just briefly about the RIF process. As far as I know 3 people personally who will be impacted by, at least 3 people personally who will be impacted by the RIF. And I went through a RIF process in this district back in 2009. And not to make this about me, but just to help our community understand how emotional that experience is. I had a 5-month-old infant, our first child, who is now a high school junior. That gives you an idea of how long ago this was. But, as a provider for my family, I instantly turned my thoughts to applying for other jobs, right? That's all you can think about. And it's distracting from the work of teaching. It's distracting from home life. It is an emotional roller coaster. And I ended up fortunately being recalled into the district and got to continue my career in the same classroom. But I just want to, we talk about relationships being key, and that goes for us as adults as well. And I just want to encourage each of us to tend to the people who are being impacted by the reality that we're in right now. This is not an easy process at all. Also, speaking a little bit to the levy, I had a list here of 4 questions that I've been asked the most, either through email or conversation or text message. And I think one of them is worth talking about here. And that question is something to the effect of, why isn't the board making hard decisions now that are needed to get us to sustainability, right? Like, why are we not just acting on the recommendations of the boundary committee or something else? And I think the answer to that is a beautiful one, is that there's 7 of us on this board, and education is a community responsibility, right? So by voting to put this levy, this local option levy, on our ballot, we are saying to our community, we want to partner with you, right? We want to do the work of bringing our system forward together. And so I think there may be a reality where this board has to make decisions, but one that I'm really proud of that we could do unanimously was to put this out to our community, to get their input, to get their vote, and to continue to make our education system in Newberg and Dundee one that can give back to our community. So I think that's really important to name, and I hope folks will vote. I hope folks will vote yes on the levy. And I would encourage folks to stay particularly connected with the budget process. Those are not exciting, riveting conversations. I'm sorry, Nate. But it's helpful to understand why this is a problem that's impacting more than just Newberg, right? That is a helpful place to be. So Lastly, I just want to say, extend an invitation to folks to come to the Chehalem Classic, the track meet on Friday. This is Newberg's big invitational. There'll be several schools at the high school, and hopefully some decent weather. So come cheer on our athletes as we continue through our spring sports, performing arts, music, all of that season.
Thanks. And thanks board and staff. As we talked about the attendance policies today, I am recalling meeting conversations that we've had about our school days and the national average of school days. We're 7 days short of the national average in Oregon. And we, the Newberg School District, we're talking about another 4 days of short of that with furlough days. So as we approach this levy, I'm thinking at the bare, we're sort of trying to get to the bottom of the pack in terms of school days for kids, just schools open. And they were talking about 90% attendance having a significant impact on instructional outcomes. And so my push and my advocacy around the levy is about, let's get our schools open for a full school year so that the kids can attend. And even if that's the bottom of the national barrel, can we as a community agree that keeping the schools open for a full school year is something worth investing in? I hope so. On a lighter note, I think April is a time in the classroom of just throughout the rest of the spring, just increasing wiliness and energy and squirreliness. And so thank you so much, staff, for your efforts on instructional outcomes as the spring wears on and as exhaustion wears on. Finally, I think we're getting thicker into baseball season, and spring football is starting. And so fun ways for kids to get involved and also to see community involvement there. Thanks.
I wanted to start out by giving a big thank you to the board for all the work that's being put into this levy. This is really impactful for the students, and I think I can speak for the whole student body about how important this levy is. We already don't have a lot of school days through furlough days, and we don't want to miss even more school. Our staff are so important to us. Me personally, I sit with 2 teachers during lunch every single day. They are so important to me. I love my staff, I love my teachers, and I don't want to see more of them be let go. This levy is really important to our students, especially for our youth. School is such a big part of our lives. It's really our whole lives at this part in time. And it's not just for this period of time, but this sets us up for the rest of our lives. So being able to give back to our schools to support our students is really important. So I also push for this levy to be voted yes on. And on a lighter note, this past month, our Newberg Key Club raised over $600 to support the Ronald McDonald House Charities in Portland, and we went down and cooked dinner for them. That was really fun. And also, this past weekend, our Newberg FBLA chapter went to our state competition. We had 2 students place first in their topics, and they qualified for nationals. And then we had 5 other top 10 placements. That was really great, especially for our first year.
First, I just wanted to thank everybody who's put in so much time and so much effort into both the levy, but fixing the attendance, the audit, just all the small components of this district that make it work together as a full unit. Andy beat me to it, but I was going to put in a bit for the meet this Friday, the Chehalem Classic. It's a huge meet. Athletes from all over Oregon come to compete. Some of the best athletes that Oregon has. It's a great opportunity to come and support. I myself will be competing, and I look forward to it. The high school orchestra tomorrow goes to our league festival in Liberty. So send us with some luck tomorrow. We'll see how we do. And yeah.
Okay, well, to round out the meeting, we will be at Mountain View next meeting on the April 28th, and then May 12th back at the district office. We have budget committee meetings in between then, and if nothing else, we are adjourned. Nope.
The middle school, so it's at Mountain View, but the middle school principals came to me and they want to present kind of a joint, this is middle school, kind of talk a little bit about what they're doing. And so they'll have both staff and student spotlights from both schools, but it's going to be kind of this is what middle school's like in Newberg. So it should be
Think that's
fun.
fabulous. All right,
Yep.
the meeting's adjourned. Thank